My name is Waldo Macy, and I never thought I'd bury my daughter. At 64, I always figured Clarissa would be the one standing over my grave someday, probably crying, maybe checking her phone between tears. That was just her. Sharp, always moving, always 3 steps ahead of everyone in the room. But on March 4th, I was the one standing in front of a casket at Sinclair Funeral Home in Calgary, Alberta. Polished oak, white lilies, air so thick with grief you could barely breathe. Clarissa Barton was 38 years old. Heart attack, they said. She was the healthiest person I knew. The chapel was packed. Clarissa had built a real estate company from nothing. People flew in from Vancouver, from Toronto, from places I never visited. Everyone had something good to say about her. Everyone looked genuinely broken. Almost everyone. Her husband, Leonard Nash, sat beside me in the front row. He kept patting my hand, cold fingers, practiced sympathy. I told myself grief looks different on different people. I wanted to believe that. Then I noticed Sean Vargas, Clarissa's business partner, standing near the back wall. The entire service, his eyes never once landed on the casket. Every time her name came up, he looked at Leonard instead, like they shared something the rest of us weren't supposed to know. I filed that away. When it was time for final goodbyes, I walked up slowly. Clarissa looked peaceful, younger somehow. She was wearing the navy blazer she had on the day she signed her first major property deal. I remembered that day. She had called me from the parking lot, laughing so hard she could barely get the words out. I leaned down close and whispered, "I don't know what's going on, baby girl, but something here isn't right, and I'm not leaving until I figure it out." I stepped back. Leonard appeared beside me almost immediately, too close, too relaxed for a man who had just lost his wife 3 days ago. He leaned toward my ear, and his voice was barely above a whisper. "Don't worry, Waldo. Clarissa worked hard her whole life. Good thing someone around here actually knows how to enjoy what she left behind." I turned to look at him. His face was blank, calm, like those words had cost him nothing. I couldn't speak. And then, I will never forget this moment for as long as I live, I heard a sound from inside the casket. Soft, almost nothing, easy to miss if you weren't paying attention. But I have heard that sound my whole life. It was Clarissa's laugh. Before I tell you what happened next, drop the name of your city in the comments. I want to see how far this story has traveled, and follow along because what I discovered in the next 48 hours changed everything I thought I knew about my own daughter. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my recliner at home in Calgary with a glass of water I never touched, staring at the photos on my side table. Clarissa at her university graduation. Clarissa and Leonard on their wedding day. Clarissa last Thanksgiving, laughing at something I said that wasn't even that funny. She always laughed at my bad jokes. That was her way of loving me. I kept hearing that sound from the casket, that soft, quick laugh, the same one she made as a kid when she knew something the adults hadn't figured out yet, the same one she made the first time she beat me at cards, the kind of laugh that meant, I know exactly what's happening here. I told myself I imagined it. Grief does strange things to a person. But Leonard's words kept coming back too. Good thing someone around here actually knows how to enjoy what she left behind. Who says that? At a funeral, standing over his wife's casket. I picked up the phone and called my old friend, Marmaduke Fox. Marmaduke had been a police officer for 28 years before he retired. If anyone could tell me whether I was losing my mind or on to something, it was him. He picked up on the second ring. "Waldo, how you holding up?" "Not well," I said. "Duke, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be straight with me." "Always." If someone wanted to fake a death, a cardiac arrest specifically, how hard would that be? Silence on the line. Waldo, just answer the question. He exhaled slowly. It's not impossible. You'd need the right medication, someone on the inside at a hospital, and a very good reason. I thanked him and hung up. The next morning, I drove to Ridgeview General Hospital on the north side of Calgary. That's where Clarissa was taken. That's where she was pronounced dead. The attending doctor was a woman named Margot Wells, early 40s, gray streaks in her hair. She met me in a small office near the cardiac unit, and her eyes were kind but careful. "Mr. Macy, I'm very sorry about your daughter. I need to understand what happened," I told her. Clarissa was healthy. She ran half marathons. She didn't smoke, barely drank. How does a 38-year-old woman just drop dead? Dr. Wells pulled up the file on her screen. Cardiac events can happen without warning. Stress is often a major factor. Who brought her in? She checked the notes. Her business partner, a Mr. Sean Vargas. He said he found her collapsed in her office around 7 p.m. And you didn't think it was strange, him being there that late? Dr. Wells shifted slightly in her seat. "Mr. Macy, I understand you're looking for answers. Humor me, doctor. Was there anything unusual about Clarissa's case? Anything at all?" She went quiet for a moment, fingers still on the keyboard. Then she said something that made my stomach drop. "The rigor mortis set in faster than normal, much faster. Usually it takes several hours. With your daughter, it was already advanced when she arrived." "Earlier than reported," I repeated slowly. She looked uncomfortable. "That would be a very serious claim, Mr. Macy. I'm not making it. I'm just answering your question." I thanked her and walked out into the cold Calgary air. Sean Vargas said he found Clarissa at 7 p.m., but if the rigor mortis told a different story, that meant Sean lied about the timeline. And if he lied about when he found her, what else was he lying about? I sat in my car in the hospital parking lot for a long time. The sky was white and flat, the way it gets in Calgary before a heavy snowfall. Everything quiet, everything still. My phone buzzed. A text from Leonard. "Waldo, the lawyers want to meet Thursday about the estate. Sean and I will both be there. Hope you can make it." Sean and I. Not Sean and I as her business partner and husband, just Sean and I, like they were already a unit, already operating together. I put the phone face down on the passenger seat. Something was very wrong. I didn't have proof yet. I didn't have answers, but I had enough questions to know I wasn't going to that lawyer's meeting and sitting quietly while two men divided up my daughter's life. I was going to find out what really happened to Clarissa Barton, even if it destroyed everything I thought I knew. I drove to Clarissa's office the next morning. Barton Property Group, 9th floor, glass tower on 5th Avenue, downtown Calgary. I had visited enough times to know the layout, enough times to know which elevator opened closest to Sean's office. The receptionist, Larissa Watts, stood up the moment she saw me. "Mr. Macy, I'm so sorry about Clarissa." "Thank you, Larissa." I kept my voice calm. "I need to collect some of her personal things, family photos, a few items from her desk." Her expression shifted. "Mr. Vargas left instructions. The office is sealed until the estate is settled." "Sean sealed her office?" I repeated slowly. "Yes, sir." She lowered her voice. "He's been here every night since it happened, going through files. Last night past midnight." I nodded. "What time did he leave the day Clarissa died?" She thought about it. "Around 5, said he had somewhere to be." 5 o'clock. But Sean told the hospital he found Clarissa at 7. 2 hours unaccounted for on the night my daughter died. I thanked Larissa and walked straight to Sean's office without knocking. He was behind his desk, jacket off, sleeves rolled up, 3 stacks of folders in front of him that he closed the moment I walked in. "Waldo," he said, straightening. "I didn't expect." "Sit down, Sean." Something moved across his face, mostly surprise. I had never spoken to him like that. I was always the quiet father in the background, the old man at Christmas parties. He sat. I closed the door behind me and stood across the desk from him, didn't sit, didn't want to be at the same level. "The hospital says you found Clarissa at 7. Larissa says you left here at 5. That's 2 hours, Sean. Where were you?" "Larissa must be—" "Don't," I said quietly. "Don't tell me she's confused. She's not confused. She remembers exactly." His jaw tightened. "I went for a drive. I needed to clear my head. It had been a long day." "A drive," I repeated, "for 2 hours. And then you went back to the office and found Clarissa." "Yes." "And called 911 immediately." "Yes." I looked at him for a long moment, let the silence sit. Clarissa had taught me that once without knowing it. She said the most useful thing you can do in a negotiation is stay quiet after you've made your point. Let the other person fill the silence. People reveal themselves when they're uncomfortable. Sean revealed nothing, but his hands on the desk were very still, the kind of still that takes effort. "Those folders," I said, nodding at the stacks he had closed. "What's in them?" "Business records, nothing relevant to you." "My daughter's business records." "Waldo," his voice had an edge now, controlled but present. "I understand you're grieving, but this office and everything in it is subject to legal proceedings now. If you have concerns, speak to your lawyer." I leaned forward and put both hands flat on his desk. "I'm going to find out what happened to my daughter. Every hour you can't account for, every file you've touched since she died, every phone call you've made." I held his gaze. "All of it." He didn't flinch, but something behind his eyes shifted. "Is that a threat?" "It's a promise," I said. I straightened up and walked out. Larissa watched me cross the floor toward the elevator. I stopped beside her desk. "If he asks what we talked about," I said quietly, "tell him I came for Clarissa's photos and you turned me away. Nothing else." She nodded without hesitating. The elevator doors closed behind me. My hands were shaking slightly in the descent, not from fear, from something older and steadier than fear. I had just looked the man who killed my daughter in the eye and told him I was coming. Now I had to make sure I was right.
I didn't tell anyone about the phone call. Not Marmaduke, not the police. Not yet. Because whoever made that call wanted me scared, wanted me to stop. And the moment I stopped asking questions was the moment they won. So instead, I did the one thing they weren't expecting. I went back to Sinclair Funeral Home. The director was a thin man named Bernard Dennis, pale hands, soft voice, the kind of man who had spent so long around death that he learned to move quietly through every room like he was always at a service. He met me in his office near the back of the building, dark wood paneling, a box of tissues on every surface. "Mr. Macy," he said, "how can I help?" "Clarissa's wedding ring," I said. "It wasn't on her finger at the surface. I need to know what happened to it." Bernard opened his intake folder and ran his finger down the page. "There's no ring listed in our records, Mr. Macy. We didn't receive one with the body." "So it was gone before she got here?" "It appears so. Sometimes hospitals remove jewelry during medical procedures. It would normally be returned to the family afterward, unless the family requested it beforehand." Meaning his wife's husband could have taken it. Or anyone listed as next of kin, yes. Leonard. Leonard was her next of kin. Leonard, who had whispered cruel words over her casket. Leonard, who was already coordinating with Sean about the estate before she was even in the ground. I leaned forward. Mr. Dennis, was there anything else unusual about Clarissa's body when it arrived? He was quiet for a moment, choosing his words. The body was colder than normal, significantly colder. Usually by the time we receive someone from the hospital, the temperature has begun to settle. Your daughter was cold as if she had been refrigerated. There it was again. Too cold, too fast, wrong timeline. I thanked Bernard and walked out into the gray Calgary afternoon. Snow was starting to fall, light, dry flakes that disappeared the moment they hit the ground. I sat in my car and called Marmaduke. "Talk to me, Duke." "Waldo." His voice was different, slower, careful. "I've been digging into Sean Vargas. You need to hear this." "Go ahead." 3 years ago, Sean was investigated for financial irregularities at his previous company. Nothing was ever proven, but 2 people who were about to testify both withdrew their statements. One moved out of province, the other... He stopped. "Duke." "The other one died. Cardiac arrest, age 41. The snow kept falling outside my windshield. I watched it without seeing it. "Same cause of death," I said. "Same cause of death, no investigation, case closed." I gripped the steering wheel. "He's done this before." "I can't prove that, Waldo, not yet, but there's more." Marmaduke's voice dropped lower. "I pulled some financial records, public filings for Barton Property Group. 3 weeks before Clarissa died, almost $9 million moved out of the company's primary accounts. $9 million. Gone. Transferred in pieces to avoid flacking. Whoever did it knew exactly what they were doing. $9 million. Clarissa's entire company. Everything she had spent 15 years building. Can you trace where it went? I'm working on it. But Waldo, this is bigger than just a cheating husband. This is organized, premeditated." He paused. "You need to be careful." After I hung up, I sat there for a long time. The ring was gone, the money was gone, the timeline was wrong, the body was too cold, and Sean had done this before. Every single piece pointed in the same direction. Clarissa hadn't just been betrayed by her husband. She had been set up, possibly by both of them together. And if the money was already moved before she died, that means the plan was already in motion weeks before her so-called heart attack. My phone buzzed, a text from Leonard. "Waldo, the lawyer confirmed Thursday at 2 p.m. Sean and I will be there. Important you come. Lots to discuss regarding Clarissa's wishes." Clarissa's wishes, as if Leonard Nash had any idea what Clarissa wished for. I typed back a simple reply, "I'll be there." But I had no intention of sitting quietly in that meeting while 2 men carved up my daughter's life. I was going to walk in there knowing everything. And then my phone rang again, same unknown number as before. I answered it immediately this time. But it wasn't the distorted, threatening voice from yesterday. It was a woman, quiet, shaking slightly. "Mr. Macy?" "Yes." "My name is Lane Floyd. I worked with Clarissa for 6 years. A pause. "I know what happened to her, and I think you deserve to know the truth." "Where are you?" I asked. "Somewhere safe for now." Another pause. "Can we meet tonight, alone? Don't tell Leonard. Don't tell Sean." "Yes," I said without hesitating. "Tell me where."
Lane Floyd picked a small diner on the east side of Calgary. Vinyl booths, coffee that tasted like it had been sitting since morning, far enough from downtown that nobody from Barton Property Group would walk in by accident. I got there first, took a booth near the back, facing the door. Lane arrived 7 minutes late, maybe 34. Careful eyes. She kept her scarf on after she sat down, like she wanted to be ready to leave at any moment. She ordered coffee, didn't touch it. "Talk to me, Lane," I said. "I was Clarissa's personal assistant for 6 years. 4 months ago, she changed, coming in early, taking calls in the stairwell, meeting someone outside the company regularly, always the same person. Who? A forensic accountant, Waldo Lawrence. What were they meeting about? I don't know the details, but after one of those meetings, Clarissa pulled me aside. Lane looked at the table. She gave me your number and said, if anything ever happens to me, call him first. 6 weeks before she died. She knew. Did Clarissa know about Leonard and Sean? I asked. She'd been tracking their financial moves for months, small amounts at first, then larger ones. The 9 million, I said. Her eyes widened. You already know. I know it's gone, not where. Lane reached into her coat and slid a folded piece of paper across the table. Clarissa's handwriting, neat and quick. Dad, if you're reading this, things went wrong. The money is safe. I moved it first. Storage unit, Northgate Self-Storage, Unit 41. Combination is Mom's birthday. Everything you need is inside. Don't trust the lawyer. Don't go to the police yet. Find Waldo Lawrence first. I love you. C. I read it 3 times, then folded it and put it against my chest. Does Leonard know about you? I asked. I don't think so, but 2 days ago someone broke into my apartment. Nothing taken, just things moved. A drawer left open. My laptop shifted. Sending a message, I said. Yes. You need to leave Calgary tonight. Sister in Edmonton? Go. Don't tell anyone except me. She nodded. Mr. Macy, she said quietly, do you think she's really... She couldn't finish it. I had been carrying the same question for days without saying it out loud. Dead people don't laugh, and I had heard my daughter laugh from inside that casket. I don't know, I told her honestly, but I'm going to find out. I paid and walked out into the Calgary night, snow falling hard now, the kind that sticks and covers everything. I drove straight to Northgate Self-Storage. I had to know if my daughter was still alive.
Northgate Self-Storage, north end of Calgary. One guard didn't look up from his phone. Unit 41 was at the far end of the last row. Mom's birthday opened the lock first try, March 9th. 16 years, and I never forgot that date. I rolled up the metal door and stopped. War room. 3 corkboards covering the left wall. Photographs, printed emails, handwritten notes connected by red string. A folding desk with stacked folders and 2 external hard drives. A mini fridge humming quietly in the corner. Months of work, all of it Clarissa's. The photographs showed Leonard and Sean in places that had nothing to do with business. Hotel lobbies, parking garages, private dinners, dates in the corners going back 8 months. She had been watching them for 8 months. The folders held bank transfers, shell company registrations, emails designed to sound innocent. They weren't. Money moving out of Clarissa's company in pieces while she was still running it. Then I opened the last folder, labeled Insurance. A recording device, a printed transcript, and Clarissa's handwriting at the top. October 14th, my kitchen, Leonard and Sean. I was supposed to be in Vancouver. I wasn't. I read the transcript, hands shaking by the second page. Sean's words, she's too sharp. It needs to look natural, clean. Leonard's response, I know someone. Heart attack. Nobody looks twice. I put the papers down, pressed both hands flat on the desk. My daughter had stood in her own kitchen, listening to her husband plan her murder. Then she had driven somewhere, kept her face neutral, sat across from Leonard at dinner that same night, and said nothing. And then she had built all of this. I opened the mini fridge. Medical vials, a note clipped to the shelf. Temporary paralytic, mimics cardiac arrest, undetectable in standard autopsy. Dr. Fox helped source this. He knows everything. Dr. Fox, Marmaduke.
I called him. He picked up before the first ring finished. "You found it," he said. Not a question. "How long, Duke?" 3 months. She made me promise not to tell you until you found this room yourself." He paused. "She knew you'd try to stop her." "Is she alive?" "Yes." I closed my eyes. "But Waldo, Sean found this unit 2 days ago, before you did." I looked around the room. A folder slightly out of place, a pen at the wrong angle. Someone had already been here. "He knows she's alive," I said. "Yes, and he made 2 calls today, to the same person Leonard hired 3 months ago. This time there would be nothing fake about it." I grabbed everything off the desk and ran.
Marmaduke gave me an address, a small apartment above a used bookstore on Edmonton Trail, 20 minutes from the storage unit. I drove there without stopping once. I took the stairs 2 at a time. Duke was in the hallway outside a door at the end of the landing. He looked older than the last time I'd seen him, heavier around the eyes. "She's inside," he said. "Waldo, she's been carrying this alone for a long time." I held up the messenger bag. "Not anymore." He knocked twice and stepped aside. The door opened. Clarissa. Thinner. Hair shorter and darker. Lines around her eyes that weren't there before. Plain clothes. Nothing like the sharp blazers I was used to. But completely and absolutely her. She opened her mouth and I didn't give her the chance. 3 steps across the hallway and I pulled her into a hug that I'd been holding in for days. Neither of us spoke. When I stepped back, her eyes were wet. Mine too. I didn't check. "You heard me laugh," she said. "At the funeral. I couldn't help it. It's the only reason I started looking," I told her. She almost smiled. I followed her inside and set the messenger bag on her desk without waiting. "I've been busy," I said. She looked at the bag, then at me. I laid it out piece by piece. The transcript from the storage unit, Marmaduke's financial findings, the timeline discrepancy from Larissa, my conversation with Dr. Wells about the rigor mortis, Bernard Dennis confirming the body was too cold. Everything I had found independently before Duke told me she was alive. Clarissa sat across from me, reading through it slowly. She didn't speak for a long time. "You got all of this yourself?" she finally said. "I taught you to pay attention," I told her. "I just didn't know I was paying attention for this." She set the papers down. "Dad, don't apologize," I said. "Not yet. Tell me what I'm missing first." She looked at me for a moment, then nodded. She walked me through the rest. Valda Lawrence and the Shell Company trail, the $9 million secured in a protected account, the plan to surface at the lawyers' meeting Thursday and let Leonard and Sean walk into a room they couldn't walk out of. The financial evidence is solid. The audio recording is admissible. Valda has everything prepared for the fraud division. "What's the weak point?" I said. "Timing. Sean knows I'm alive. He's already making calls." She paused. "If he moves before Thursday, then we move first," I said. She looked at me. "Thursday still works, but I'm not sitting quietly in that meeting while you do everything. I want Leonard." "What do you mean you want Leonard?" "When we walk into that room, I want to be the one who takes him apart, before you say a word, before you open a single folder." I held her gaze. "He stood over your casket and told me he was going to enjoy spending your money. He looked me in the eye and said that." Clarissa was quiet. "That's mine," I said. "Let me have that." She studied my face for a long moment, the same way she used to look at me when she was 12 and trying to figure out if I was serious. "Okay," she said quietly. "Leonard is yours." Duke spoke from the doorway. "I'll have Detective Rodriguez on standby. 1 call and she moves." I nodded. Outside the window, Calgary was dark and ordinary. People walking dogs, cars at intersections. A city with no idea what was happening in this small apartment above a bookstore. "Dad," Clarissa said. "Yeah?" "I'm sorry I made you stand at that casket." I looked at my daughter.
alive, tired, still fighting. Don't be. It made me angry enough to find everything.
Thursday came fast. Wednesday night, we went through everything one last time. Clarissa, Marmaduke, Valda on the phone from Vancouver. Every piece of evidence in order on the desk. The plan was simple. I would arrive first, let Leonard and Sean settle in, let them feel comfortable. Then Clarissa would come in after. Everything recorded, Rodriguez outside, one signal and she moved. Simple, clean, assuming nothing went wrong. The lawyer's office was on the 12th floor of a building on Center Street. Dark furniture, framed credentials, the kind of room designed to make you feel like serious things happened inside it. I arrived at 10 to 2. Leonard was already there. Charcoal suit, rested face, a man who believed the hard part was over. Sean came in 2 minutes later, shook my hand, said the right things, sat across from Leonard without looking at me again. The lawyer started with standard procedure, estate timelines, asset listings, company valuations. I let it run for 15 minutes. Leonard kept glancing at his watch. Sean kept his eyes moving between the door and his phone. Comfortable, impatient, ready to collect. I waited until Leonard leaned forward. "Can we move to the business transfer section? Sean and I have a meeting after this." "Sure," I said quietly, "but first, I want to ask you something, Leonard." He looked at me, slight irritation. "Of course, Waldo." "The day of Clarissa's funeral," I said, "you leaned over and whispered something to me at the casket. Do you remember what you said?" Leonard's expression didn't change. "I don't recall exactly. It was an emotional day." "I'll remind you," I said. "You told me, good thing someone around here knows how to enjoy what she left behind." I let that sit for a second. "At your wife's funeral, standing over her casket, that's what you said to her father." The room went quiet. Sean looked at Leonard, a fast look, the kind that passes between people who share a secret. "Waldo," Leonard said carefully, "grief affects people differently." 3 weeks before Clarissa died, I continued, $9 million moved out of her company accounts. I have the transfer records right here. I slid the first document across the table. Shell companies registered under names I didn't recognize until Valda traced them back. Leonard's jaw tightened. "Then there's the timeline," I said, sliding the second document toward Sean. "The night Clarissa died, you told the hospital you found her at 7 p.m., but you left this office at 5, 2 hours unaccounted for, on the night my daughter died." Sean's hand on the table was very still. "And then there's October 14th, I said quietly, Clarissa's kitchen. You thought she was in Vancouver." I placed the transcript in the center of the table. Neither of them touched it. Leonard's face had gone the color of old concrete. Sean was completely still in the way that takes effort. "I think," Leonard started, "we should pause and call our—" The door opened. Clarissa walked in. The room went absolutely silent. Leonard's chair scraped back, his body moving before his brain caught up. Sean didn't move at all. He just stared at her like a man watching something impossible happen in slow motion. Clarissa sat at the head of the table. Dark blazer, hair pulled back. She placed her folder down and looked at both of them. "I see my father already started without me." She looked at me. I nodded once. "Hello, Leonard," she said. "Sean." Leonard made a sound that wasn't quite a word. "October 14th, my kitchen. I came home early." She opened her folder. "I heard everything." Sean stood slowly. "There are 4 officers in the hallway," I said. He looked at the door, looked at me, sat back down. Leonard had his face in his hands. Clarissa looked across the table at me, small nod. I sent the text to Rodriguez. "Come in." 30 seconds later, It was over.
Leonard and Sean were taken out in handcuffs. Leonard was crying by the time they reached the elevator. Sean said nothing, just walked out, straight-backed and silent, like a man saving his energy for the lawyers he was about to call. Detective Rodriguez shook Clarissa's hand in the hallway. "We've been building toward this for weeks," she said. "The fraud evidence alone is enough. The audio recording makes it airtight." "And the attempted murder charge?" I asked. "Between the medical evidence and the recorded conversation, yes," Rodriguez nodded. "Both of them." After she left, Clarissa and I stood alone in the hallway. The office had emptied quickly, just the two of us and the hum of the building around us. She leaned against the wall and exhaled slowly. "It's done," I said. "Most of it," she replied. I looked at her. "What does that mean?" She pushed off the wall and started walking toward the elevator. "It means Leonard and Sean are handled, but they're still the person they hired, the one who administered the compound." I hadn't forgotten about that. "Do you know who it is?" "Waldo tracked a payment 3 months ago, cash transfer through one of the shell companies to an account in Medicine Hat. The elevator doors opened and we stepped in. We have a name. Does Rodriguez know? She will tonight." We rode down in silence. Outside, the sky was white and heavy, more snow coming. Calgary in March never really commits to spring until it's ready. I walked to my car and turned the heat on immediately. "Clarissa," I said, "is it over enough for you to be safe?" She thought about that honestly. I appreciated that. She didn't just reassure me. "Leonard and Sean are in custody. The hired person doesn't know the plan failed yet. Rodriguez is moving on the name tonight." She paused. "By tomorrow morning, yes, it should be over." "Should be," I repeated. "Dad?" "I'm just noting the word choice." She almost smiled. "Get me coffee and I'll explain everything else." We found a place 2 blocks away, a proper cafe, not a diner. Clarissa ordered black coffee and wrapped both hands around the mug, the same way Lane Floyd had 4 days ago. Something about that struck me. 2 women who had spent weeks being careful and quiet and afraid, both holding their coffee like an anchor. She told me the rest over the next hour. The $9 million she had moved was sitting in a secured account under a corporate name Sean and Leonard had no knowledge of. Waldo had structured it legally. It was untouchable. Barton Property Group would likely dissolve through the legal proceedings, but Clarissa had already been thinking beyond it. "I don't want to rebuild the same thing," she said, "not after what it cost." "What do you want?" She looked at her coffee. "Something smaller, something I control completely. No partners." "No partners," I agreed. My phone buzzed, a text from Marmaduke. "Rodriguez picked up the 3rd person an hour ago. Medicine Hat. It's done, Waldo. It's actually done." I showed Clarissa the screen. She read it, set the phone down, looked out the window at the snow starting to fall on Center Street, and for the first time since I had seen her alive in that apartment doorway, she looked like she was breathing normally. "Come stay at the house," I said, "at least for a while." She looked at me. "You shouldn't be alone right now, and honestly, neither should I." She nodded slowly. "Okay." We finished our coffee and walked out into the snow together. My daughter, alive, beside me. Everything else could wait.
Clarissa moved into the spare bedroom that night. 1 bag, a laptop, nothing else. I made soup. She ate 2 bowls without talking. I didn't push her. Some silences don't need filling. She spent the evening at the kitchen table coordinating with Rodriguez's team. Evidence filing, legal paperwork, the slow machinery of justice starting to move. I went to bed at 11. I woke at 2 a.m. to a sound downstairs. Small, careful. Not the house settling. Someone moving across my kitchen floor. I grabbed my flashlight and went down slowly. Clarissa's door was open. Bed empty. Kitchen light was on. She was standing at the counter, phone to her ear. She saw me and held up one hand. Wait. I waited. She hung up and turned around. Rodriguez, she said. Sean made one call before they took his phone. 30 seconds between standing up in that conference room and Rodriguez walking through the door. He warned someone, I said. Yes, a secondary storage unit, Sean's own. If someone gets there first and wipes it, we lose the direct connection between Sean and the hired person in Medicine Hat. Without that, Sean's lawyers could argue Leonard acted alone, fraud charges only, 10 years instead of life. Rodriguez is trying to locate it now, Clarissa said. We sat in the quiet kitchen, snow against the window, clock reading 2:17 a.m. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Tell your daughter to stop. She got what she wanted, but if she keeps pulling threads, there are people who won't be patient. Line dead. I looked at Clarissa. She had heard everything. She was already calling Rodriguez. Trace that number, now. 30 seconds. She hung up. The call came from 2 blocks away, she said. We both looked at the kitchen window. Outside, under the streetlight, directly across from my house, were footprints in the snow. Someone had been standing there watching us, and they were already gone.
Rodriguez called at 6 a.m. Sean's storage unit was wiped, she said. Cleaned out overnight. We missed it by 3 hours. My stomach dropped. But we found something taped under a shelf, an old phone, 14 months of messages between Sean and Bernard Lott. I sat up straight. Every instruction, every payment, every conversation about Clarissa. I told Clarissa over coffee. She turned her laptop toward me without a word. Bernard Lott, her first investor, seed money 12 years ago when she was starting out. I said, he believed in you. She said, he was positioning himself, flatly, from day one. I studied the incorporation filing on her screen, registered address in Calgary, secondary address in Cochrane, and a director listing connected to Calgary International's private terminal. I called Marmaduke. Duke, Bernard Lott, private air travel. Anything scheduled this morning? Clicking on his end. A pause. Single passenger filing, 9 a.m., Panama City. I checked my watch. 7:40 a.m. I grabbed my jacket. Call Rodriguez, Clarissa said. From the car, I told her. Rodriguez answered on the first ring. Bernard Lott, private terminal, Calgary International, 9 a.m. to Panama City. Waldo, how did you have 80 minutes. Does it matter? I heard her already moving. Do not go inside that terminal yourself. I parked outside at 8:35 and waited. Rodriguez arrived at 8:51. Her team moved through the entrance clean and fast. 9 minutes later, they walked a lot out. Tall, silver-haired, well-dressed, the kind of man who spent decades making sure he looked trustworthy. He didn't run, just put his hands out quietly, like a man who had already accepted this ending. Rodriguez caught my eye through the glass. One small nod. I called Clarissa. It's done, I said. A long breath on her end. Come home, Dad. I drove back through Calgary in pale morning light, the city moving around me like nothing had happened. But something had. The last piece was gone, and I had found it myself.
Leonard Nash was transferred to a holding facility on the east side of Calgary 3 days after his arrest. I requested a visit the same morning. Rodriguez tried to talk me out of it. Waldo, his lawyers are already building a case. Anything you say in there could complicate proceedings. I'm not going to say anything that complicates anything, I told her. I just need 10 minutes. She looked at me for a long moment. 10 minutes, she said. The visiting room was small. Fluorescent lights, a table bolted to the floor, 2 chairs. Leonard came in looking diminished. The charcoal suit was donned, gray facility clothes, dark circles. The careful composure he had worn like a second skin was mostly gone too. He sat across from me and said nothing. I looked at him for a moment. This man who had sat beside me at my daughter's funeral, patting my hand with cold fingers. This man who had whispered cruel words over her casket and called it grief. I'm not here to threaten you or argue. Your lawyers can handle all of that. He watched me carefully. I just want you to understand something. Clarissa built everything herself. Every client, every property deal, every dollar. She did it without you. She did it in spite of you. I kept my voice level. And when you tried to take it from her, when you sat in her kitchen and planned to have her killed, she was 3 steps ahead of you the entire time. Leonard looked at the table. She got that from her mother. That stillness under pressure, that ability to keep moving forward when everything around her was falling apart. I paused. I just wanted you to know whose daughter you underestimated. He didn't respond. I stood up. One more thing, I said. That whisper at the casket. Good thing someone knows how to enjoy what she left behind. I looked down at him. She left nothing behind, Leonard. She's still here, still standing, and you're in that chair. I knocked on the door for the guard. Leonard still hadn't looked up. I didn't need him to. The legal proceedings moved quickly after that. Leonard took a plea, 12 years, conspiracy and fraud. Sean fought it, lost, 22 years, no parole for 8. Bernard Lott, 18 years. The person from Medicine Hat cooperated fully, 7 years. Rodriguez called when the last verdict came in. All of them, Waldo. It's done. Clarissa stayed at the house through April. Simple routine, coffee in the morning, she worked at the kitchen table, dinner together most nights. One evening, she sat across from me in the living room. I want to start something new, smaller, nothing to do with real estate. She paused. Valda needs a partner, someone who understands how companies get gutted from the inside. Financial fraud investigation? I said. Yes, and I want you involved. I looked at the photos on my side table. What would I actually do? I asked. What you've been doing, she said simply. Notice things, talk to people, be the person in the room everyone underestimates. I thought about Sean's face when I laid those documents on the conference table, Leonard's face when Clarissa walked through that door. All right, I said, I'm in. She almost smiled. Outside, Calgary was settling into a quiet evening. Pale sky, the Rockies faint on the horizon. My daughter was alive. The people who tried to take her from me were in cells. And tomorrow, there was work to do.
6 months later, I was sitting in a proper office for the first time in years. 2nd floor, a converted heritage building on 9th Avenue in Calgary. Exposed brick, big windows, honest light. The sign on the door read, Lawrence Barton Investigations. Clarissa had insisted on putting Valda's name first. Valda insisted on Clarissa's. They argued for 2 weeks. Clarissa lost. First time I'd seen that happen in years. I had a small office at the end of the hall. A desk, a chair, a window overlooking the street. Exactly enough. Leonard Nash was 8 months into his 12-year sentence outside Edmonton. Clarissa never visited, never mentioned him. I didn't push. Sean Vargas filed 3 appeals, all denied. Bernard Lott's assets were seized and his network dismantled account by account by Valda's team. Rodriguez called when the last appeal was rejected. It's finished, Waldo, she said. I thanked her and sat quietly for a while. Lane Floyd came back from Edmonton in May. She had a memory for details and a calm under pressure that proved valuable immediately. By September, she was leading client intake on her own. Larissa ran the front office with quiet efficiency that made everyone else's work easier without anyone quite explaining how. Marmaduke stopped by twice a week. sometimes with case notes, sometimes just for coffee. He said retirement had been boring him for years. Waldo worked mostly from Vancouver, but flew in monthly. She and Clarissa pushed each other without ego getting in the way. The best kind of partnership. One Tuesday morning, I was reviewing a case file when Clarissa knocked. She set a coffee on my desk and sat across from me. "New client," she said. "Manufacturing company in Red Deer. Owner thinks his CFO has been running a side scheme for 2 years. Similar structure to what Sean used? Almost identical." She slid the file across. "That's why I want you on the first meeting." I opened it and started reading. Outside my window, Calgary moved through an ordinary Tuesday. People walking, traffic flowing, a city doing what cities do. Nothing dramatic, nothing extraordinary, just honest work done by people who understood what it cost when trust was broken. That evening I drove home alone, made dinner, sat in my recliner. The grandfather clock ticked steadily in the hallway. Fixed now. No codes, no signals, just time moving forward. I looked at the side table. New photo there now, taken outside the office on opening day. Clarissa and me in front of that door. She was laughing at something I said. I was looking at her instead of the camera. Sarah would have loved that photo. She would have looked at Clarissa and seen exactly what I saw, a woman who refused to lose. I picked up my phone and texted Clarissa, "Good work today." 3 seconds later, "You too, old man." I set the phone down and smiled. Outside, the Calgary sky was doing what it does on clear evenings, slow shades of orange and pink over the Rockies, the kind of sunset that makes the city look like it's showing off. I watched it until the light was gone. Then I got up, washed my dish, and went to bed. Tomorrow there was work to do, and I wasn't facing it alone.